Heard it here first.
Repeatedly to sing at the Oscars, and I think he had to think about it for a while, and he came in, and he looked around at the space, he looked at the theater, and he's like, okay, yeah, I think I will do this, and now he's in.
It's live moments like this in the show that Jimmy says make hosting a fifth time worth considering.
No, I'm not going to say I won't host the Oscars again. I'm definitely not going to say I will host the Oscars again. I don't even know if I'll be asked, though. This could be a disaster, and they go, okay, that's enough.
You're in pretty rarefied company. Only Johnny Carson, Billy Crystal, and Bob Hope have hosted more.
Yeah.
Did Billy give you some special advice?
He does. And in fact, he texted me this morning. He's checking in on me, seeing how it's going. I sent him my monologue. I want him to look at it and see what he thinks.
And aside from the monologue, what other secrets are in store for this year's show?
Will we see you dressed up as any of the characters in the
All of them. I'll be dressed as all of them, starting with Emma Stone's character in Poor Things and going all the way to Oppenheimer.
Wow.
I'm going to try to lose at least 80 pounds over the course of the show.
Lara Spencer, thank you, and be sure to catch a brand new episode of our special Road to the Oscars featuring conversations with the 2024 Oscar nominees. That's tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC News Live and streaming on Hulu. Also tune in to Countdown to the Oscars on the Red Carpet Live, hosted by ABC's Lindsay Davis and Whit Johnson. This Sunday, March 10th, coverage begins at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC News Live. Coming up, Miami Beach is officially breaking up with spring breakers. The major change is now in effect for the nation's #1 spring break destination. Also ahead, Robin Roberts' exclusive one-on-one with basketball star Caitlin Clark. What she's saying about the moment that put her in the history books and why she's making the jump to the WNBA now. Plus, meet the 5-year-old assistant basketball coach. What he says inspired him to follow in his father's footsteps.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital. Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane.
Celebrity attorney Tom Girardi.
This story was a nuclear explosion.
Today, several victims will get a chance to finally meet Erica Girardi.
I'm at sort of a loss for what to say.
Did you see the documentary?
The Housewife and the Hustler? I did.
I wanted Erica to say, I'm sorry, face to face.
Erica, why did it take you so long?
The Housewife and the Hustler 2, only on Hulu.
I have a point of contact.
They're expecting us?
This is our secret world we have.
Do you think we're going to be safe?
I don't know.
This is my pen. Inside that pen is a slice of human brain.
These are assassinations, and people are going to be murdered.
Definitely.
There's really no telling what some of them will do.
I'm in. Oh, my God.
It's happening everywhere and anywhere.
Wow.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Getting you behind the stories as they happen. ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights wherever you stream your news. Only on ABC News Live. What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
We are part of an operation.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate. Militants came in from different directions. Nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag...
Not a carry in it.
How important it made the USA.
Great work. Hi.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Ismail? David.
I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast. Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, you're looking at the White House, where President Biden is preparing for his State of the Union address this Thursday. And we have a lot of news to get to. Here's the rundown right now. Hopes are dimming for a ceasefire in Gaza before the start of Ramadan on Monday. A senior Egyptian official tells ABC News the Hamas delegation has left the negotiations, ending the talks for now. The breakdown comes as aid groups say a quarter of Gaza's population is at risk of famine. A new study shows the man who killed 18 people in Lewiston, Maine mass shooting likely suffered from traumatic brain injury. Scientists say this likely played a role in his mental health. The shooter was a longtime instructor at an Army training range where he was likely exposed to thousands of grenade explosions. His family now says they're allowing further studies to be done on his brain in an effort to help prevent future tragedies. A Florida fisherman is sharing his story about an unexpected encounter at sea. Sharks swarmed the fishing tour boat he was on, grabbing the red snapper right off his line. One shark also took a bite out of the boat's motor, and another shark grabbed a hold of a rope and either wouldn't or couldn't let it go. No one was injured, at least not the fisherman anyway. The owner of the boat says he's never had a close encounter like that and hopes it was the last. And the Bellagio fountain is running again after a surprise visitor forced it to pause its famous water show. People were gathered around the famous fountain when a very rare yellow-billed loon made a pit stop. Wildlife experts later captured and relocated the wayward loon, which likely got sidetracked during a storm. President Biden is set to give what could be his last State of the Union address tonight. It's a key opportunity for the president to make his case for a second term ahead of his anticipated rematch with former President Trump. Biden is expected to tout his record and lay out his vision for the country, focusing on the economy and urging Congress to pass aid to Ukraine. Let's bring in ABC's Brad Mielke, host of the Start Here podcast, for more. Brad, how critical is this speech to President Biden's reelection hopes, and what can we expect to see?
Well, I mean, on one hand, it's very difficult to change people's perceptions of you, with somebody as long of a history as President Biden has. On the other, I mean, this is a high-stakes speech, and this could be his last State of the Union address, and this could have bearing on whether he gets another State of the Union address sometime in the future, right? He's got a lot of Americans who are concerned about the economy, who are concerned about him, and so this is sort of a chance for him to reset some of those expectations. One of the questions, though, that we're wondering is, will he be looking back, trying to convince Americans, hey, I've actually been a great president, look at these last 4 years, or will he be articulating what he wants to do with his next 4 years? Does he view this as a stump speech or as a, sort of laundry list of his past accomplishments?
Now, the First Family is inviting several guests, including a couple of women who left their home states to access abortion services. How could that issue and this recent IVF battle in Alabama factor into tonight's address?
Yeah, some high-profile guests, too. Okay, Kate Cox, who was seeking an abortion in Texas and brought a lawsuit over that. So I spoke to Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for the White House, who told me that we know where President Biden stands on reproductive health, on abortion rights. What she said was he is going to be sort of reminding America that Congress could pass a law right now if they wanted to. When we talk about Roe v. Wade being overturned, Congress could pass a law today if they wanted to that would actually install that as the law of the land. The reason the Supreme Court overturned it and that everything went the way it is because there is no law on the books. So he's clearly going to be making a call for that. He's also going to be talking about sort of the executive actions he's taken in regard to abortion rights and sort of taking credit for things his administration have done. So when we talk about the FDA, making mifepristone, the abortion pill, available, he'll be taking credit for that as sort of an administration thing. And he's going to be talking about birth control. So those are sort of the things that he's going to be articulating, both executive action and potential congressional action. But I asked her how much can actually get done, and that's really, I think, where the questions will lie after this.
The Ukrainian First Lady and the widow of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny both declined invitations to the speech tonight. What do you make of that, and how can we expect President Biden to address the issue of Russia and the war in Ukraine, especially with that foreign aid bill stuck in Congress?
Yeah, I do think that's going to be the thing he's going to be begging Congress for, right? Is can we get a bipartisan group of legislators to put forward this aid? Because this is, as you've discussed so many times, this is crunch time for Ukraine in its war with Russia. The First Lady of Ukraine is an interesting story, actually, because so they invite both of these people that they think will make a great sort of case against Vladimir Putin,
sure,
right? The First Lady of Ukraine is invited. But so is Alexei Navalny's widow. Alexei Navalny is actually not viewed great within Ukraine. Alexei Navalny has been on record saying he thinks Ukraine is sort of part of Russia historically. And so this is one of the reasons, conceivably, they haven't confirmed this, but this is one of the reasons that you'd think that the First Lady of Ukraine might be like, I'm not sitting next to her. And so there's questions sort of flowing around the White House right now. Was this an unforced error? We could have had one or other of these people, but now we got neither of them as president. And these are the examples of things that have to go so right during a State of the Union.
And again, highlights the nuances of foreign affairs sometimes.
That's right.
Now, President Biden has faced some serious criticism for the administration's stance on Israel as well. You've got these uncommitted votes in at least 2 states so far. What are you watching for on that issue?
Well, what I found so interesting is over the last week, you've seen the Vice President, Kamala Harris. She made a lot of headlines over the weekend when she went really hard on Israel, calling for an immediate ceasefire, which President Biden has done. But she also really laid the blame at the feet of Israel for why aid is not making its way into the country. I'm really interested to see, and I asked Karine Jean-Pierre about this, of what we might see from the president as far as sort of saying similar things to what we heard from the Vice President, or even going further. She said he shares Kamala Harris's view that, she speaks for the White House, of course, but she also kept saying, President Biden's been on record with this. President Biden has said this. I'm curious to see if President Biden, though, takes that same tone, that harsh tone on Israel that we've seen from Kamala Harris.
All right, we'll see. Brad Mielke, thank you. Thanks. And ABC News Live's coverage of the State of the Union and the Republican response starts tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, with the president's speech starting at 9 p.m. The Georgia District Attorney, meanwhile, prosecuting former President Trump, is speaking out amid allegations of misconduct. A judge is expected to rule on whether Fulton County DA Fani Willis should be disqualified over her romantic relationship with a special prosecutor on the case. Willis has denied allegations that she financially benefited from that relationship. Now she's dismissing a Republican-led state Senate panel further probing the matter, telling our Atlanta station WSB-TV it's a political quest.
I think it's all just a political quest. I think that people are angry because I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to stand up for justice.
Let's bring in ABC News investigative reporter Olivia Rubin for more. So, Olivia, what's the latest in this case, and when could we get a decision on whether Willis will be disqualified?
Well, Diane, right now it is sort of a waiting game. The judge, based on his own timeline that he gave himself, basically indicated that a decision could be coming down by the end of next week. But in the meantime, both parties, the defense and Fani Willis, have been submitting their own filings, essentially trying to inch their position forward. The defense actually going backwards a little bit, saying they have more witnesses who could testify if the judge wanted to go that direction. But Fani Willis's office coming right out and telling him to reject the effort to disqualify her, saying that the defendants have put forward sort of an inaccurate legal standard and that there is no basis for her disqualification.
Meanwhile, Willis is preparing to run for re-election. So what are you watching for there?
She is indeed. She will officially be up for a primary in May and then the general election in November of 2024. So as of yesterday, she is now on the ballot in just a few weeks. As of now, she has no challenger, but they still have till tomorrow to jump into the race. But really interesting political dynamics at play in this case, Diane. Think about it. All three of the main characters in this case now up for re-election in 2024. Fani Willis is up for re-election. Donald Trump is up for re-election. And the judge overseeing the case, Scott McAfee, also up for election in May. So really, the voters in Georgia sort of going to have their say here as it relates to the Donald Trump case. All three of them facing voters soon, Diane.
Very interesting. Investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, thank you. And Miami Beach is officially cracking down on spring breakers starting today. Florida is the nation's #1 destination for spring break. Now, after 3 years of consecutive violence, Governor DeSantis is sending state troopers to hot spots along the coast. ABC's Victor Kendo has the latest from Miami Beach.
With millions set to descend on Florida for spring break, officials across the state saying not so fast.
Florida's a very welcoming state. What we don't welcome is criminal activity. What we don't welcome is mayhem.
After scenes of chaos last year that led to nearly 600 arrests and 2 deaths in Miami Beach alone, the Sunshine State is cracking down.
Hey, we need to talk. This isn't working anymore.
In a new ad, Miami Beach even breaking up with spring break.
And it's not us, it's you. We just want different things.
You just want to get drunk in public and ignore laws. Maybe we can talk when you're done with your spring break phase.
In the air, drones used to spot potential problems. Officials promising this year will be different.
What makes you confident that this spring break will be different than previous years?
We've got a plan that implements components that we've never ever done before.
Miami Beach clamping down, warning visitors to expect curfews, early beach closures, and bag checks. Ahead of the first busy weekend, business owners hoping for a safer spring break.
What was spring break like for you last year?
Last year was a disaster.
A disaster.
I have, hopefully, will be better than last year.
Victor Kendo in Miami Beach, thank you. Coming up, Robin Roberts sits down with basketball phenom Caitlin Clark. What she's saying about making college basketball history and her future as a pro in the WNBA.
Tonight, the president in front of Congress and the American people, the State of the Union, the economy, immigration, women's rights, Israel, Ukraine. Americans turn to ABC for the primetime address and World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
Monday night, the chilling true crime story of an 85 Chicago Bears legend, the murder of his pregnant girlfriend.
This was an execution.
She's dead. And the stunning jailhouse interview with the killer. Bad Romance. Monday night, ABC.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
in Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital. Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5. Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane.
Celebrity attorney Tom Girardi.
This story was a nuclear explosion.
Today, several victims will get a chance to finally meet Erica Girardi.
I'm at sort of a loss for what to say.
Did you see the documentary?
The Housewife and the Hustler? I did.
I wanted Erica to say, I'm sorry, face to face.
Erica, why did it take you so long?
The Housewife and the Hustler 2, only on Hulu.
Friday night.
This is a story about a beautiful young woman who goes on spring break and her life intersects with a monster.
There have been no reported sightings of 17-year-old who went missing.
A mystery for years. Now, for the first time, exclusive interviews with the investigators who solved it.
Now, all new details into the hidden life of a killer.
It still feels so raw.
Into the Darkness, the all-new 2020, Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. Caitlin Clark is getting ready for the WNBA draft. The 22-year-old is expected to be the first-round draft pick after becoming the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history. ABC's Robin Roberts sat down with Clark to talk about what's next for the University of Iowa point guard as she heads into March Madness.
She's the dominating force, reshaping the landscape of college basketball.
It's been so much fun, but we're not done yet.
The University of Iowa guard Caitlin Clark, smashing records and captivating fans across the nation. And now she's ready to take her game to the next level.
Caitlin Clark knocks down a 3.
Why did you decide that this was the time to end your college career?
Well, I think there's pros and cons to both sides, and that's what made the decision so difficult. It was almost a win-win, but at the same time a lose-lose because I was giving up something, and I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life. But I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that closure, especially going into senior night.
Fans lining up for hours ahead of senior night.
Caitlin
the last regular season game for number 22, and the moment Clark would make history.
For the record, she ties it with that one. This for college basketball history.
Becoming the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history.
Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer.
You know, we're playing the number 2 team in the country on senior night on our home court. You can't really script it any better. I honestly didn't realize it until everybody started going wild, and it's just cool to have so many people in the stands that, one, appreciate women's basketball, but they understand the history of it.
The 22-year-old has called Iowa home her entire life, and now she's on the cusp of achieving one of her biggest goals. You're moving on up. How do you feel about the next chapter?
I think it's something I'm ready for, and that's why I decided to make this move, but also this is the place like all I've known all my life, and that was the main reason of coming to the University of Iowa is I wanted to play for my home state. I wanted to do something that really had never been done before.
When you think about the WNBA draft, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say you're going to be the number 1 pick. You know, I don't know. I got a crystal ball. You're going to be the number 1 pick. We know that Indiana, the Indiana Fever, have the top selection. They're already talking about their ticket sales. They're already talking about the demand. What is it, do you think, about your game that has people just can't wait to see you in the professional level?
I think it's just the style of basketball that I play, but also I think people love the fire and the emotion that I have and the smile I always have on my face. To be honest, I don't get nervous for games because I just know this is fun for me. People love the long shots, people love the good passing, people love the fire.
That fire blazing during last year's March Madness tournament. And there was a lot of talk about women athletes and being competitive and fierce and all that. I'm like, where you guys been? We've always been that way.
Yeah, I think it still does surprise me that people get a little distraught about women being competitive and getting into little arguments on the court or having a little trash talk, and that's how it should be. I think more than anything, it's surprising you guys didn't know this is how women's sports are played. Come on.
As a young girl, you could find Caitlin gracing the court, the field, and the track. You were a multi-sport athlete. What was it about basketball?
Well, honestly, growing up, I loved soccer, too, and I played every sport, basically. I ran track, I did softball, soccer, but I think basketball, I just loved the competitive side of it, and I grew up playing with the boys, and my dad was my first ever basketball coach. Before every game, I look at my dad, and I give him a nod. He gives me a nod. And then I go out there and get ready for the tip, and I think it just speaks to the bond I've had, especially with my dad, over the course of my basketball upbringing.
As a high schooler, Clark clinching a spot on Team USA's youth squad, winning 3 gold medals on the global stage.
And this is Caitlin Clark.
But recounts a humbling setback that turned into a major comeback. But I remember when you were a rising junior, they didn't put you on the team.
Yeah.
And that seemed to fire you up, just like it did Jordan when he didn't make the varsity team.
I went to try out the next year. And honestly, I hurt my pinky during training camp, but I kept playing, I was fine. But also I just played really bad. I didn't deserve to be on the team. So I think, honestly, that's one of the lowest points of my basketball career is you're on the team the previous year, you win a gold medal, and then you go back to try out with all your teammates from the prior year. But I think it really allowed me to find another fire. And I think it just pushed me to work even harder and get better and, want to prove people wrong.
You know we had to step on the court where the magic happens. Okay, there's just something about the smell of a gym and see that iconic record-breaking spot now forever etched onto the floorboards. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it on the court?
All the way over here.
That?
Right over here, yeah, that's the spot.
That's where you shot from there?
Yeah.
I want to show folks, okay. This is the three-point line. This is where she shot it from. You see that? You see the difference?
And that's half court.
Oh, yeah. She's closer to half court. Not only do you have a place in the record books, you have a place on that court. That's got to mean something special.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. When I first went out there and looked at it, I'm like, this has to be in the wrong spot. It seems way further back from where I actually shot it from.
How will she go for history?
This is what I dreamed of. I dreamed of playing in front of these types of crowds and these type of environments. During every national anthem or every pregame, I just try to take a deep breath and look around and, soak in the environment because it seriously never gets old.
Our thanks to Robin Roberts and Caitlin Clark for that interview. Coming up, our countdown to the Oscars. We're getting a first look at the stage and what actors will be taking home in their goodie bags. Our Will Gans joins us live from the red carpet after the break.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Friday night.
This is a story about a beautiful young woman who goes on spring break and her life intersects with a monster.
There have been no reported sightings of 17-year-old who went missing.
A mystery for years. Now, for the first time, exclusive interviews with the investigators who solved it.
Now, all new details into the hidden life of a killer.
It still feels so raw.
Into the Darkness, the all-new 2020, Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
I have a point of contact.
They're expecting us?
This is our secret world we have.
Do you think we're going to be safe?
I don't know.
This is my pen. Inside that pen is a slice of human brain.
These are assassinations, and people are going to be murdered.
Definitely. There's really no telling what some of them will do.
Oh my God! It's happening everywhere and anywhere.
Wow.
Tonight, the president in front of Congress and the American people, the State of the Union, the economy, immigration, women's rights, Israel, Ukraine. Americans turn to ABC for the primetime address and World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
Inside that pen is a slice of human brain.
I've never seen a place like this in my life.
Oh my God, look!
Wow.
I'm Wade Johnson reporting from Maui. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, Hollywood is rolling out the red carpet for the 96th Academy Awards this Sunday. And we've got a special edition of The Tea today. Our Will Gans is on the red carpet with some of the buzzy stories people are talking about ahead of the Oscars. Will, spill that tea, but don't dirty the carpet, okay?
The carpet, Diane. In fact, there's still plastic wrap on it where I'm standing right now, but the smell of history about to be made is in the air. But I want to take you inside the Dolby for a second. Let's start center stage with our first peek at how the Dolby has transformed for the 2024 Oscars. Vanity Fair sharing these exclusive images of this year's set design, which took 9 months to bring to life. The team saying the color-changing space is meant to feel like a modern-day plaza where people can come together and exchange ideas, and that it's kind of like a hug because of how the screens and the structures have this lovely curve shape. Their words, not mine. They also say that the stage will undergo a few transformations as the night goes on. I can't wait to see how all of that comes together. So excited for that, Diane.
Will, I got to ask about this jacket, too. The jacket looks like it's red carpet ready.
Hey, listen, my goal with this outfit, by the way, was to bring the Kenergy. You can't even see, but I am wearing pink pants right now. Don't worry. I'll send you a photo of that in just a little bit. But next, oh, perfect. Let's dive into some fun facts about this year's Oscars. Did you know that The Holdovers is the first Christmas movie to be nominated for Best Picture since 1948? The last film to pull that off was the original Miracle on 34th Street. And get this, Emma Stone could join an exclusive club along with Meryl Streep and Elizabeth Taylor and a few others if she wins on Sunday night. That would give her her second Oscar before the age of 35, which, you know, no tea, no shade is something that no man has ever been able to do before. But it's newbies night this year with 10 first-time nominees in the mix, from Lily Gladstone to Sterling K. Brown to Emily Blunt. Meanwhile, Bradley Cooper is no newbie. He's the 5th most nominated actor alive who has never, ever won an Oscar yet. And TBD on whether or not he'll be able to pull that off on Sunday night, Diane.
Will, what is your prediction on that one?
I think that he's going to have to keep trying. I don't know that this is his year, but maybe he'll surprise people. I don't know.
All right,
Fingers crossed for Bradley. Another Best Actor nominee, Colman Domingo, is making history with his first nomination this year, a gay actor, nominated for playing a gay character, and now we've got a glimpse at his next big project. Take a look at the brand new trailer for Sing Sing.
Since you've been in custody, you've been involved in a theater program.
Gentlemen. It's been a program that was established to help people get more in touch with their feelings and really get some rehabilitation.
I am Gladiator Goliath. I am Spartacus.
I'm Prince Hamlet of Denmark. And it's turned into something, I don't know, wonderful.
Colman leads a cast of real-life, formerly incarcerated actors, which is already getting buzz for next Oscars season. And finally, a peek inside the goodie bag at this year's Academy Awards, which, by the way, are not officially affiliated with the Academy. Some of the big-ticket items include a vacay in a Swiss chalet, which, if you've seen Anatomy of a Fall, maybe you might want to skip that trip. But don't worry, there's other options in the goodie bag this year. A holistic wellness retreat 100 miles from where I'm standing right now, and 3 nights in St. Bart's. And, of course, skincare is taken care of as well, with numerous skincare products, liver pills, and microneedling, and many other things. But before you complain about too many freebies for the already rich and the already famous, each bag also represents 10,000 canine meals being donated to PETA's Global Compassion Fund. So even the four-legged friends, like Messi from Anatomy of a Fall, are winning this year.
Aw, love that. Also, we will await our goodie bags when you come back. Thank you very much.
Okay, your goodie bag is going to be a Starbucks gift card and some free chocolates from the hotel.
You know what? I will
Swiss
take
chalets
it.
for you.
I'll take it, Will. Thanks, Will. And tomorrow, Laurie Bergamato joins us with more beauty products and devices to look red carpet ready. Also, be sure to catch a brand new episode of our special Road to the Oscars, featuring conversations with the 2024 Oscar nominees. That's tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC News Live and streaming on Hulu. And tune in to Countdown to the Oscars on the Red Carpet Live. That one's hosted by ABC's Lindsay Davis and Whit Johnson this Sunday, March 10th. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC News Live. Thanks for streaming with us. I'm Diane Macedo. ABC News Live is here for you anytime with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on various streaming services, the ABC News app, and, of course, on abcnews.com. The news never stops. We'll be right back.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane.
Celebrity attorney Tom Girardi.
This story was a nuclear explosion.
Today, several victims will get a chance to finally meet Erica Girardi.
I'm at sort of a loss for what to say.
Did you see the documentary?
The Housewife and the Hustler? I did.
I wanted Erica to say, I'm sorry, face to face.
Erica, why did it take you so long?
The Housewife and the Hustler 2, only on Hulu.
Tonight, the president in front of Congress and the American people. The State of the Union, the economy, immigration, women's rights, Israel, Ukraine. Americans turn to ABC for the primetime address and World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
Monday night, the chilling true crime story of an 85 Chicago Bears legend, the murder of his pregnant girlfriend.
This was an execution.
She's dead?
And the stunning jailhouse interview with the killer. Bad Romance. Monday night on ABC.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here. Friday night.
This is a story about a beautiful young woman who goes on spring break and her life intersects with a monster.
There have been no reported sightings of 17-year-old who went missing.
A mystery for years. Now, for the first time, exclusive interviews with the investigators who solved it.
Now, all new details into the hidden life of a killer.
It still feels so raw.
Into the Darkness, the all-new 2020, Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
People really want to know what it feels like to be a photographer.
Right shoulder down, there we go.
It's this yin-yang of danger and this incredible raw beauty.
That's his first breath. That's so cool.
All right, this is it.
These moments that you immortalize makes a lot of difference.
there's a masterpiece everywhere.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live.
I'm Matt Rivers, and that is the Panama Canal. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. Today on ABC News Live, first, the high-stakes State of the Union. President Biden is looking to jumpstart his re-election campaign, the urgent last-minute preparations ahead of his address to the nation tonight, and how the GOP plans to respond. 3 sailors are dead after a Houthi missile attack off the coast of Yemen, how the U.S. is now firing back. And opening statements are underway in the trial for the Michigan school shooter's father. The arguments being made on both sides and how this trial will be different than his wife's case. And the results of an independent investigation into the police response in Uvalde. What the victims' families are saying ahead of the release of that report. But we begin with President Biden preparing for tonight's high-stakes State of the Union address. The president is expected to cover a wide range of issues, including his record and vision for the country, the economy, aid for Ukraine, abortion bans, student debt, and junk fees. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers and ABC News contributing political correspondent Rachel Bade join me now for more. Karen, what's at stake for the president tonight, especially just a day after Donald Trump became the presumptive Republican nominee in the race for the White House?
Diane, this is a significant moment for President Biden, and it's somewhat of a launch of the general election. And this is tonight for the president, perhaps the biggest audience he will have this year to get Americans' attention, maybe until his convention speech this summer. So for the president, he is laying out policies of what he would like to do if he were given a second term in the White House, a vision of an agenda, but also it's a chance for him to convince Americans that he is up for a second term in the White House. So Diane, it's obviously about the substance, the policy, what he will do if he were reelected, but also trying to show Americans that he is up for the job. Now, the White House says this is a very important moment for the president. They understand the stakes here, and they say that he takes this very seriously. I'm told that he was fine-tuning the speech yesterday, and he will spend today huddled with senior advisors doing just that, working right up until he delivers that speech tonight on Capitol Hill.
Rachel, Speaker Johnson urged House Republicans to not disrupt President Biden's speech, saying decorum is the order of the day. Now, last year, several Republicans repeatedly interrupted Biden's speech. So what do you expect to see on that front tonight?
You know, a year ago, Diane, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy made a similar warning to his members, telling them not to heckle the president, and yet they did. They booed him. You could see Kevin McCarthy at one point trying to shush them. So I do expect we'll see some Republicans making some noise when they're not happy with what they hear from President Joe Biden. But I think the response to really keep an eye on tonight will actually be the official GOP response after the State of the Union, which will be delivered by a sort of newcomer to the scene, Katie Britt. She's a Republican from Alabama. She's only 42 years old, was just elected. She's got kids still in school. She hails from a state, as you know, that just tried to criminalize the practice of IVF. And she was reportedly one of the people who actually called Donald Trump after this decision and said, look, we as Republicans need to push back on this sort of finding out there that IVF is not going to be accessible to people in my state. So the AP is reporting that she will actually be talking about that. And, you know, she actually has this interesting reputation on Capitol Hill, too. She's really good friends with progressive Democrat John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, even visited him when he was hospitalized for depression. So I think keep an eye on her because, you know, she's sort of a rising star in the Republican Party, and this is a big moment for her as well as Joe Biden tonight.
Karen, the economy is a top issue for voters ahead of any election, really. So how is the president expected to address that tonight?
Diane, the economy is going to be a major part of President Biden's address tonight, and he is likely to renew his call for increasing taxes on corporations and the wealthiest Americans. He's also going to focus on his efforts to try to bring down costs for everyday Americans, whether that's targeting junk fees or going after things like, you know, trying to help people with student debt, things like that, prescription drug costs, bringing those down. He's also going to highlight how the U.S. economy has rebounded under his watch and contrast that to what he will say another 4 years of a potential Republican president, Donald Trump, could look like. He's going to talk about the jobs that were created, 15 million jobs over the last 3 years, an unemployment rate below 4%, inflation that is still too high but tempered from what it was, and also talk about how wages have been rising. These are things that are very important to Americans. Polls show people are concerned about the economy, and they don't like the job that the president's doing on the economy. So, Diane, tonight is a chance for the president to convince Americans that what he has been doing is working, and he deserves another 4 years to keep continuing that.
Now, Rachel, even Democrats have voiced concerns about President Biden's age of 81. So what do you expect him to do tonight to try to show that he's ready for another 4 years?
Diane, the Biden world has this old saying, let Joe be Joe. It's the sort of sentiment that Biden is at its best when he's unscripted, speaking off the cuff and from the heart. And that's exactly why he got a lot of praise during the last State of the Union in 2023. He actually went off script a little bit, goaded Republicans on Social Security, and he got a lot of praise from his party and actually some, sort of bipartisan or nonpartisan commentators at the time, too. Now, Biden, they haven't really been letting him let Joe be Joe, so to speak. He actually has been doing fewer press conferences and fewer interviews than former presidents Joe Biden, former presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump. So I think tonight, to sort of put all those age questions to bed, he's really going to have to show that he's still Joe Biden, that people have known for years, and that he can still have fun and speak from the heart.
All right. Karen Travers at the White House, Rachel Bate on Capitol Hill for us. Thank you both. And ABC News Live's coverage of the State of the Union and Republican response starts tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, with the president's speech starting at 9 p.m. And tensions are rising in the Middle East as hopes of a ceasefire before Ramadan are dwindling. The Hamas delegation says they left negotiations in Cairo to consult with their leadership. This comes as the UN Relief and Works Agency calls U.S. airdrops of food and aid into Gaza dangerous and inefficient. They say those drops are only effective if a ceasefire deal is reached. Meanwhile, the U.S. is conducting strikes in the Red Sea after 3 sailors were killed in a Houthi missile attack on a ship off the coast of Yemen. Senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez joins me now for more on that. Louis, what does this latest Houthi attack mean for tensions in the region?
Diane, it just shows once again that despite all of the U.S. efforts to try to deter the Houthis from carrying out these attacks, it's more than 66 attacks since mid-November that have been carried out against commercial shipping in the Red Sea and in the Gulf of Aden. And now yesterday's news that 3 mariners aboard a ship were killed in an attack, a missile attack carried out by the Houthis. Questions have been raised about how many missiles the Houthis may actually have, and it's unclear that if the U.S. actually knows how many they do have to continue carrying out these kinds of attacks. And one of the things that we do know is that about a month ago, there was one strike carried out between the United States and the United Kingdom where it seemed that there was a drop-off in the number of attacks against commercial shipping. But since then, the Houthis have continued despite relentless attacks by the United States and other countries.
Now, the U.S. and Britain have already conducted large-scale attacks against more than 150 Houthi targets, but the group keeps striking these ships. So is the Pentagon strategy working?
That's a question that a lot of people are asking, and I think one of the things that we've heard from U.S. officials is essentially that this is a deterrence operation. This is not all-out war against the Houthis. And one of the things is if it's unclear exactly how many arms, how many drones, how many missiles the Houthis have, then the United States will have to essentially carry out an all-out war to try to eliminate all of their arsenal. And that's not something that the United States is willing to do right now. So for now, it's a deterrence mission. But again, major questions being asked if it's actually having an impact, because the Houthis continue with these strikes over the last couple of months.
Louis, meanwhile, those stalled peace talks come as the U.S. is airdropping aid into Gaza, but the UN Relief and Works Agency says that's ineffective. So how is the U.S. working to get more aid into Gaza?
Well, just a short time ago, U.S. Central Command announced that they had carried out the 3rd airdrop of new meals ready to eat for humanitarian purposes into Gaza. Another batch of about 38,000 meals ready to eat that have been dropped in. But I think everyone agrees that this is just a drop in the bucket and that the real assistance is going to be provided when you see ground transportation or maybe a maritime corridor where sea ships can carry much more humanitarian supplies into Gaza. So I think that there's general concurrence about that, but I think the general idea of the United States carrying out these missions is that they said that something had to be done, and that's why they're carrying out these airdrops.
All right, senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez, thank you. And opening statements are underway in the trial of a Michigan high school shooter's father. James Crumbley's trial comes just weeks after his wife Jennifer was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for failing to address her son's mental health and allowing him access to the gun used in the attack. The Crumbleys are the first parents to be charged in connection to their child's school shooting. Their teenage son shot and killed 4 students and injured 7 others at his high school in 2021. ABC's Trevor Ault joins me now from Pontiac, Michigan, along with ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more on this. Trevor, what can we expect to happen in court today?
So, Diane, those opening arguments have just wrapped up as of a couple minutes ago. It was very similar to the kinds of arguments that we saw during Jennifer Crumbley's trial. Of course, now James Crumbley facing those 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter as well. There's a brief break in court, and then the prosecution will begin calling their first witnesses. And if this follows the same path that we saw in Jennifer Crumbley's trial,